I'm wondering how you've been able to come with the positive in the last 2, 3 weeks of everything, like all these developments happening with events now that lots of people are jealous of, by the way, but how have you managed to stay sane? Because it kind of went from 0 to 120 like that.
Yeah, no, it did. And to be honest, like the way how we kind of kept busy during that period was just to keep on rescheduling. And then for every single bit of good news that came through, we didn't take it as gospel, but obviously I just feel like it's kind of like a duty of mine just to sort of assess the situation and then make sure that we're as well prepared as we can be for every eventuality. So because we were sort of well prepared for when we got the green light, or if it's a green light and if things can go ahead for June, then we were already kind of anticipating that because we'd already rescheduled the calendar up until that period. So we actually, I probably 3 or 4 times now separately, I've rescheduled and had a full solid block of 3 or 4 months worth of shows, every single weekend through. And some of the agencies must have been, tearing their hair out, like getting another email from me saying, can we reschedule to this? And, I ended up with some people being like, maybe we just want to hold off for a little bit, just wait until we get a little bit more clarity. But as soon as there was a little bit of news, every time we were trying to push just to sort of make sure we were in good shape. And I feel like we've benefited now from that. And I feel like just having the opportunity to work and do something that I'm passionate about and that I love doing is a blessing anyway. And how can you not be positive with, obviously, the stresses, of course, and stresses, isn't there? But do you know what I mean? But I feel like there's so many people in the world have got it worse than me. There's a lot more things you can be stressed about than having to reschedule artists that you love in a job that you love and you've worked hard for.
All along the way, you've been trying to keep particular names and particular artists on your lineup because you want these things, but you can't let those dates go. So how have you managed to keep hold of the absolute jewels and not lose them to the ether of pandemic panic?
Yeah. So, I mean, for us, it was always a kind of, I feel like you need to kind of be on the side of understanding where other people are coming from. So we're all in the same situation. So I could be really selfish and look at it from the club's point of view or a promoter's point of view or just my own personal point of view and say, we need to make sure that we have this exactly as it is now and this needs to be exactly as it is when things go live. But it's not realistic to say that everyone else can fall in line with that. Because you've got the artists to consider, you've got the agencies to consider, you've got our own personal sort of commitments and availabilities to consider. And really the main thing that I wanted to do, it wasn't even really so much an artist-led kind of approach really on reopening. We wanted to have the first sort of 2 or 3 weeks to sort of be given preference to our regular promoters, and then we wanted our opening week to be like a celebration of just everyone that has been through what we've been through, all of the regular sort of DJs. I know that you're on one of the openings, we've got obviously Luke from Homo Electric, we've got everyone that we kind of like work with on a regular basis, or the majority of are going to be involved in that sort of opening period. And that was really the sort of priority for me, was to try, make sure that we had that locked in, and then everything else could kind of fit in just after that. But in terms of sort of making sure that the cards like fell like favorably, it was just a case of being flexible really, and just allowing people to, if you can't make this date when we reopen, then we can maybe work with this date, or maybe if that way, if this doesn't work, then maybe would you like to share a second room on this one, or do a day party on this one, or instead. So we were able to kind of work that way and get something that we were happy with in the end. So
keep everyone absolutely locked in.
Yeah.
How did you get here? What was that journey from being a schoolboy, I think, and being who you are now? I'm curious.
Honestly, it's quite it's quite a long tail, probably.
As far back as you need to go, where that love of music suddenly lit the fire, where you caught a fire and thought, that's what I want to do.
Yeah. So for me, I feel like it wasn't, I didn't have a sort of conventional upbringing, and it kind of started there. Like my dad, he used to build sound systems. He used to have his own radio station. He used to have his own nightclub. He used to have, he used to run his own events. He used to run an event called
Where did he have his own nightclub?
Soul Control, it was called. So he used to run events at like the gallery and stuff, and then he did events all across the country really with that. But predominantly was a Manchester-based sort of street soul and hip hop, and then merged into sort of more popular mainstream soul-led stuff as the years went on, and yeah, so he was running stuff down there at the gallery. Before that, he was like into sound systems, and then they started a radio station called Soul Nation, and then that led on to a nightclub called Club Havana. So I actually had my 13th birthday party at Club Havana. So I was like, so when I was 12, yeah. So when I was 12, I had like my dad made me some flyers and stuff, and the flyers were like my baby pictures, and I was giving flyers out in my school to like get people to come to my party when I was like, that was like second year. Or
promoted from being like 12 years.
Like exactly. My mum always says like when I was a toddler, like I used to know how to, like when it was like old school before everything became like digital, my dad used to have a lot of his stuff in the house. Like we'd have like everything was like analog with like the amplifiers and the different sets of how to kind of get things going. And my mum couldn't figure it out, but I could have when I was like 2 or 3, and like, I just through watching my dad and sort of watching monkey see monkey do type of thing. Do you know what I mean? I was just like obviously looking up to him, and just like sort of I had a keen interest from then, and basically just didn't ever really stop. So from him having like the station and the club, and just being like an active promoter and DJ himself, like he was getting sent a lot of promos and new music all the time. And in our house we used to listen to music like all the time. It was always on, even at night time and stuff. So I was always sort of given the records and the promos that I wanted from his like selection and stuff. So yeah, that's probably where it started.
Can you play everything then? Can you play everything before, like, because I know you're a techno DJ now, but like, can you play anything?
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, I feel like it's something which has always been it's quite a personal thing to me. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not something where I've ever like wanted to like sort of do like a hip hop set or like a street soul set, or like something which is like, I don't know, like something from my sort of upbringing, and then sort of bring that into it. Just because I feel like when you're playing music, or when I'm playing music, I play like my version of something which I think will work in an environment. Do you know what I mean? So you kind of play to the environment, and that kind of shape your output to a certain degree. So I've never really just had like a real sort of blank opportunity where it's just been like, just to sort of put together, obviously, my own personal music. I listen to music in my car while driving about, and I've got like, playlists on like Apple Music and stuff like that, like everyone does, on their own like sort of personal vibe or whatever. But I've never really sort of played that out, do you know what I mean? So it's always been like you said, techno or house, or probably. I guess so, but I'd have to, it'd be a different kind of like style of mixing. Like my dad, like my brother, actually, to be fair, my younger brother, he's great at mixing like sort of, he'll go into like hip hop and bashment and garage and all these different things, and stuff that we like grew up on, and he's got it like down, like, do you know what I mean? Like that's like his thing, and it's always been like his thing, whereas I've always kind of like played like house and techno. Well, it started with garage, and then it went into like house and techno when I went to university. But yeah, I feel like I mean, I'd love to do something like that, but I just don't know if I would. I don't know how I'd feel about it really.
I'd like to hear you pushed out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, no, you know what, and I would actually be up for it as well. Yeah, I actually would. So that'll be something I will. I'll arrange if you want me to arrange.
I've logged that. No, I've logged it.
No, you can log it. That's fine. Yeah. No, I'm happy to do that. I think it'd be like something that's probably quite exciting for myself as well. Do you know what I mean? Just to actually go through tracks that mean something to me, or just go through something that actually meant something at one stage or another. I've still got like all my old like garage records and stuff from when I first started buying them myself when I was at college. I've still got them all, so I've got a good selection of stuff.
Would you be
that was just records back then, so so they're only on record, all of those tracks, and then digital that came even like up until maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I was burning CDs still, so I didn't really transition onto like an actual memory stick until then really, but I still carry some records with me.
It's all good, it's all music. I'm not a snob, so to me
no, I'm not either, to be honest. I couldn't really care less. Like I'm not too fussed if someone turns up with playing one thing or playing another, as long as the music's good. And they're able to express themselves through that, then yeah, that's up to them, isn't it? So.
Were you a good student, or were you distracted by music? Because I know you've been all the way up to university, Leeds, I believe. Were you a good student, or were you distracted? Were you distracted by the party?
I probably was a little bit distracted. to be honest, when I was at high school, like my music teacher, actually, I didn't really actually get on with him that well. I actually didn't even pass my music GCSE just because I wasn't allowed to spend. Well, I was allowed, but I just couldn't get on with this guy to the point where we'd like clash in front of the whole class. I'd have to like leave the class quite a lot. I used to just go and work on my art project when we used to have like these big things. And when I told him I was going to college, and he was like asking what I was doing afterwards, and he was like, "What are you doing at college?" And I said I was doing music technology. Like, he burst out laughing in my face. He was just like, "You've got no chance." He was like, "There's no chance you're gonna stick at that." He was like, so. Yeah, I mean, obviously it is what it is, and I went on to I did music technology at Manchester College, and I did well. I got like a 2-1, which was good, or merit or whatever it was, and then went on to get a degree in the same thing at Leeds Met, which was good. Obviously, good experience for me. But yeah, along the way, I definitely did get distracted. I failed the year at Leeds. At Leeds, and I had to get mitigating circumstances to extend it, because basically I went and did 2 years working abroad, my second year and first year both out in Ibiza, just with the people that I knew from being there, and I completely lost track of when it was that I was supposed to come back and restart my class. And I was getting letters that was sent from university and like communication coming from them, basically asking why I hadn't re-enrolled for my third year, and then I thought I got my weeks mixed up basically, and I ended up coming back to Leeds in a rush. Everyone was in. My parents were angry at me. I was I'd had like 4 months of amazing, blissful, amazing times, and basically come back to being right back on the ground level. I was weeks and weeks behind. We had so many really difficult modules. I just wasn't up to it at all. So yeah, basically I had to retake that year.
You mentioned a magic word for me there, and I am always curious to hear about people's experiences, particularly Black people's experiences on a island, because there's this whole myth about Ibiza, like if the island doesn't like you, it'll spit you out. So, what was your experience on Ibiza? You said you had a good time, so tell me.
You can have a good time, I think, anywhere, as long as you're. Well, I can. Some people aren't content enough, and they kind of are the company that they keep to a certain extent. Whereas I'm absolutely fine if I'm on my own or if I'm with like people. But the people that I'm with, if I choose to have someone and they're in my circle's quite tight. So I can be around people who can make any situation great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're part of that same circle that I've mentioned there. So yeah, I was lucky enough at that time, especially in my second year out there, to I was seeing a girl at the time, and that she became a girlfriend of like 3 years, and she was a part of that team. So that was great. And then I had like a few of like close people out there as well. So we could have been anywhere. It just so happened that we were in Ibiza, but obviously the weather kind of played a part. But the time that we had over there was amazing, and obviously the musical and all of that sort of side of it, the experiences that I had out there were amazing. As you'll know, being a Black person, there's a subtlety to everything. Do you know what I mean? That people don't really pick up on. So I've got like white friends, my girlfriend's white, and it's like there's people that I've brought into my life who haven't ever really seen or noticed it just until it's been explained. And then you spend more time with me, and they'll walk around with me, and they'll see that I maybe get treated differently, or certain things might be a little bit different or a little bit odd, and then they pick up on the way how you looked at, or the way how you spoken to, or the way how these different things. And of course, when I was out there in Ibiza, obviously they were a little bit further behind over there in terms of the sort of Spanish authorities and the police, and obviously being asked if I was selling drugs and all this stuff. I'm 6'4", do you know what I mean? I'm Black, I'm 6'4". I don't, I sometimes, I'm very sort of aware of that. And I'm also sort of someone who is perceptive enough to know when, I'm not being sort of looked at or dealt with in the same way as someone else. But because it's been like that for my whole life, like I said before, I started off this about Ibiza speaking of it in a positive light, because I didn't let that affect my experience out there, because that's just like standard. I don't know anything different, because I've always been me. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, from with that said, for me, I had a great time. Obviously, yeah, it's annoying people coming up every single time you go to anywhere, whether it's a walk down the West End, or you're chilling in like San Antonio, or you're going to the nicer parts around the Beaver Town, or you're going exploring, or wherever we were, I would always get that extra check or that extra whatever, or the police would slow down, or it'd be me to get questioned, or people in the clubs who would always come to me for drugs or for me for this or blah 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 blah. I wasn't into any of that stuff, but like I said, I don't take anything like that personal. It's just that's just life and that stuff.
Yeah, you've come through university, you've got your degree in your hand.
Yeah.
Why didn't you become a techno producer and like full-on techno producer and DJ? What made you get into the event side of it?
So when I first started university, basically I was supposed to work on, my dad knew some people who were doing some events there already, so that basically he wanted me to sort of be tied in there with a job. So he basically put me in touch with Sasha from the Warehouse Project and Elisa, who was his ex-partner, and basically they were running a student night down there. And because I fell out with my dad, I basically didn't follow up on that at all, and I went and worked for a different company, but I was still kind of sold on the idea of wanting to work for some nights out there and stuff, because when I was based in Manchester, when I was at college, I was fortunate enough that when my dad had his club and he got rid of the club, there was a transitional period where he had a media and marketing business for a while. And through having that media and marketing business, and obviously back in the day, it wasn't Facebook or Twitter or none of that stuff. It was all heavy print and everything that was out there and whatever. So that was the main way of how people promoted stuff. My dad basically decided to sort of put all of because the club was they did quite a few things in house. We're spending an absolute bomb per week on all of the things like flyers and posters and whatever that was needed. So he basically put it into another business, and then the quality of the work that he was doing sort of word spread, and he ended up sort of allowing other people to use that same business, and then it kind of outgrew the club to a certain degree. Right. So he got rid of the club, and then through working with him on my internship, I basically met loads of different promoters in Manchester. So I met the guys from Sankey's at the time, who was Sasha, and obviously Dave Vincent and people like that. And through that, I was allowed access from when I was 15 to all of those clubs. So I was going out on a regular basis from that age. And yeah, I feel just seeing things from that point of view and seeing it from the organizational point of view, and always because when they used to come into there, obviously they would discuss the promotional plans, and I used to sort of sit, and my job as part of my internship was to sort of discuss the packages of things that we could offer as a company and stuff. So it's just basically just going through a price list of all the different things which you could have, and it's always just something that I've just found interesting. I find it interesting to sort of deal with masses of people, and to sort of look at trends and what people are into and how to apply certain things to sort of I don't know, just to sort of create something that feels like that sort of sense of unity that you get at these events. So I went to this tribal gathering warehouse when it was I must have been 16 or something, and that was I think Jeff knows Carcots. It was it's a big event here in Manchester, and it was done as it was kind of marketed it was an illegal party, and it was for me to experience something like that at that age, when all my friends were just chilling on parks and stuff and doing regular stuff, and I was coming back into school being you'll never guess what I've been doing this, and there's there was 13,000 people there, and it's you can't even really explain it to people, because it's just a different world, and it's that's always kind of it's been something of interest really since then. And it's obviously when I was given the opportunity then to work with some of those same organisers when I went to uni, coincided with falling out with my dad. I ended up just picking up on that same trail anyway, but I just did it for a student night. So I was just doing student promotion from it's a friend of mine's company. Actually, it was a friend now. It's called Voodoo Events, and it's still going. They're absolutely smashing it. They do 6 nights a week, the biggest student promoters in Leeds, and they really sort of helped me and took me under their wing. So I was kind of working my way up just through selling tickets, and because I was in halls and stuff. It's over 1,000 people in my hall, so it was easy to get to know people. And yeah, basically just kind of through that, and through sticking by it, doing good week on week, hitting my targets. I was given the event manager's job to run my own event on a Thursday, and then this great opportunity came up to move things over to a more reputable club and do something that was more music focused, which was at Mint Club every Thursday.
Right.
And that
Okay.
opportunity was given to my friend's brother. So we were like the first people in at that point in Leeds, especially. I'm not too sure about the rest of the state of, but it felt like the UK. I'm not too sure if it was the UK or not, but we were one of the first people to be consistently booking actual sort of weekend acts on a Thursday, and we did that for 5 years. So we were booking like actually, you know, everyone from like, it's more like tech house kind of stuff back then. So it's like, you know, like, I don't know, Macyoplex or like Kerry Chandler, Eats
Big
Everything,
names.
Heidi. Yeah, so there
Big
was like, you know, it sort of grew over a period, but it was easier to get those acts just because on a Thursday, yeah. So at the time, no one was really doing that. So that was like down to Steve and the work that he was doing. And basically through my event manager's job, working on the student focused stuff, I became more involved with that. And through kind of just like that, obviously taking up my week to week, and our interest then being sort of freed up on the weekends, and we still wanted to go out and party. I was still coming back to Manchester quite a lot, and I came back for a warehouse project event and knew a couple of people here, and they basically ended up offering me the opportunity to do like some artist liaison work when I came back to Manchester. So I was like, you know, because we were looking after so many of the same artists and stuff, they put me on a night that had like similar people, and, you know, I knew a lot of the people that were there and stuff. So it just kind of fell into a way of working back here, but while still doing my own stuff in Leeds as well. And that eventually transitioned with me into me working for a couple of days for them over here during the week, and then doing my own events here in Manchester, just because I was spending more of my own time here. And then when I was looking for events, well, venues around the city that were different, because every event that I did up until that point had been a different one. I did events like Dry Live, Sound Control, Joshua Brooks, and then there's another one which was like an abattoir in Ancoats. It used to be called Underland. I can't remember what it was called before that, but it's where the old Uni Radio used to be, like below that, basically in the basement.
You have to know your spots. You have to know your locations.
Yeah, you have to know like all the areas and stuff like that. So obviously, when I was like on the hunt, I just wanted somewhere that was like a bit different. Do you know what I mean? Because everyone was like going to the same places and stuff. So I ended up stumbling across Hidden, and I was just like, wow! I was like, this is like amazing. But at that point, like, there was no license. There was no windows, there was nothing, you know, I mean, the debt was piling. No one had a clue how to sort of get from like it just being like a dream into turning it into an actual business. And they sent me a message saying that they love one of the lineups that I put together. It's the one at Sound Control, and at the time I think it was like 14 points in Cosmin TRG. And I was just like, yeah, let's have a chat. You know, it'd be good to sort of see what you guys are up to. And basically, I had like loads of different ideas for my current event that I was doing, which is called Lo-Fi, which I still do now, which is like called techno stuff. And then there was like another list of stuff which was more like houses. Like some of it was like a crossover between like house and garage. And I had like loads and loads of ideas, but I didn't have a name for that. And they were like, oh, you know, if we were to sort of, they were like, you know, we love these ideas. Would there be an opportunity to sort of bring that, and we can do that as the in-house like brand, and then you know, we can do everything as like a co-pro, we can work on these things together. And then it was like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. And then from there it ended up with obviously, because I was plotting loads of dates in it, then they did the calendar, and then it was like when they would get approached for people, they were like, oh, you know, like speak to Anton, because like if you want to work here, we've got all these events that needs to work in our calendar. So ended up with me having the calendar, me doing all the bookings, me doing all the everything. Then it ended up with you know, that stemming into the marketing, and then before you know it, it's like then I left working for warehouse projects, and then they're full time, and then it becomes like your whole sort of life. And you know, that's like, yeah, like I said, it's like a natural transition really from like Leeds to helping me bed back in here, and then, you know, obviously then having my own creative output whilst I've been here in Manchester. And that's just So
how important is it, and has it been, to know people? You know, you said at a little point, like you were there and you were, you know, from being very young, you were in the same environment as Sasha and Dave Vincent and whoever else, all in the same room talking business. So you're kind of assimilating everything. It's almost like taking it in like a sponge. How important is it to know those people to get on and do what you want to do?
Yeah, I think it's good, but in the same breath, I don't think it sort of helps. And if it's I don't feel like anything's ever been given like easy. If anything, I feel like, especially with my dad and stuff, especially, you know, it's always been coming from a place of like tough love. And I feel like, especially if people know where you're coming from, you kind of made to work harder for it. I feel like people are kind of switched on to the fact that you maybe feel like you deserve something, or you maybe feel like because you know someone, then, you know, yeah, you might get that initial hello or that initial handshake or that initial whatever. And that, I'm not saying that doesn't mean something, because it does, but then to actually turn that into something meaningful. Like I've always said, like within like our business, I feel like you have to work really hard just to then be able to work hard. Do you know what I mean? Like you have to work hard just to get into the position in the first place, to then start working. And as soon as you stop actually working really, really, really hard, there's always someone just over your shoulder willing and waiting to take what you're doing from you.
No, you're absolutely
right.
Did you make friends with the dad eventually, by the way?
Yeah, we do speak. Yeah, so I gave obviously my daughter, when my daughter was born like last year, that was like a talking point. So then that kind of like brought us back together. But before that, I hadn't spoken to him for a few years. But I think it's just one of them things, isn't it? Like, you know what I mean? I've had a great, like, I was with my mum for a long period of my life, and my nan, and then I was kind of raised by the women in my family for like a long period. But then when I was like 9 years old, my stepdad came along, and honestly, he was like, exactly, he's the right person for me at that time. Do you know what I mean? To come in, he's been such a positive like male like role model for me that it didn't really feel amiss not speaking to my dad on a regular basis. And then when I got back speaking to my dad again, it was like, you know, it was cool. And then we did that party at his club and stuff, and then, you know, it's kind of like then we'll have a big fallout, and then we might not speak for a couple of years, but then we'll come back together.
Is family the glue that holds everything together?
Yeah, I feel it's really, really important to me. I feel like, for, you know, a lot of people think it's not even really just a blood thing. It's just about having like, I'm blessed enough to have had really, really good, strong connections with just like general people, or certain people in my life who have just helped me massively. And I feel like if you surround yourself with good people, and I believe a lot in like energies and what people can sort of give and take away, I've been like really, really blessed in a way of just having like my mum, who just genuinely wants the best for me. Do you know what I mean? And like my family, who have just genuinely wanted the best for me in certain situations. And I'm not saying I've come from like some like dead like privileged or whatever background, because I haven't. You know what I mean? Especially when it was just me and my mum for years, it was like difficult. But when you feel like you just the love that comes from a person is completely unconditional, it gives you a strength that helps you to, do you know what I mean? You're not scared to take chances and fall, because you know they'll always still be there for you. And I thought, yeah, I'll always see family as something which is a major part of my life, just because I've never known anything different, and I've always kind of had that to lean on, and they can always lean on me. And it's just a connection that, yeah, now I've passed that on to my daughter and stuff, and she's slotted right in there. So yeah, it runs right through. Yeah, it is important to me.
One of the things I've noticed, particularly from your lineups, for all your parties, through hidden radio, wherever, is that you're one person who really does pay attention to booking female talent. And that's not because you make a point of booking female talent, it's just because you book the talent. But how is it that you can do that? You can see them and a lot of people can't?
I don't want to throw anyone like under the bus or whatever, but I feel like we can all, it's a very easy thing for people to say, like, you know, in the top tier of artists, you know, there's the majority just so happen to be male. So it means that if you want to do these bigger shows, then, you know, you need to look at it from the perspective of like, well, how many tickets is that person worth? And then if you're doing a whole festival and you need to reach a certain target of 50,000 people or whatever, then you need to get a certain amount of these top tier artists in, and it just so happens that it's more kind of balanced into the men or female. Sure, you can look at it like that, or you can look at it in the way that I do, which is, because I see that as kind of like a bit of a cop-out, because it is a bit of a cop-out, really. I feel like if you want to look deeper into stuff, then there is always ways to kind of present and like enable people to sort of be given opportunities to then step up. And I don't feel like that's been sort of done consistently enough across the board. I feel like, yeah, there's obviously times where I'm like, I have to think about the worth of certain of like artists and lineups and how that's going to translate into tickets, especially with like hidden like it's proper like DIY. We were so in depth before the club like opened. It was like it's a miracle that we're actually still like an actual real functioning thing. Do you know what I mean? Because to come from it's even nightclubs that start off on zero or start off way in the green to go through sort of 6 years is a very long time for a nightclub in this day and age to sort of have like and to sort of grow as the way that we have done and to purchase assets along the way so we can self-sustain and do all this. It's not been easy, but to try and do that and keep the sort of ethical side of it right, and to make sure that you've put in your heart and soul into something, and you sort of making sure that everything's sort of equally spread across not just like male and female or any genders or genderless or anything to do with it, like people that are marginalized in general.
But it really did it really did make me warm to your organisation, first of all, because, one of my absolute heroes in terms of music and output, I saw Annabelle Fraser on your lineup. She had a residency at Hidden, and I saw Meat Free, and I'm just like, right, okay, this is a place that is just really just laying it out there. It's like, it's not just your obvious black t-shirt techno crew. This is like it's open season for everyone. Yeah,
exactly. I feel like that's the way how it should be, because really, if we're going to go, if you want to get deeper into it, like if we want to look into the histories of all this music, it was the black communities, it was the gay communities, it was the marginalized, and I feel like a big part of that has been women as well. Do you know what I mean? I feel like that we're all kind of coming at it from. I feel like that should be music should be and clubs should be somewhere where people can just have that release and that sort of feeling of that sort of I can't really describe it to you. You know what I mean? There's pressures of society and the sort of way how the constructs are to keep people separated and make people feel this big compared to other people who are there because of colour or gender or blah, 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 blah. All of that should go out the window. So if you're paying, you're going to have a ticket, you want to go in there, you've had a shit week, everyone's doing stuff to try and get the head above the water. The last thing you want to do is have to feel that same shit when you go into somewhere that you've paid to be. I feel like, when you go into a nightclub, you should have that feeling of a release, and you should be able to sort of use that to sort of, and if it's something that we can sort of do along the way to sort of show that we're that way, and we understand that, and just by the stuff that we have with our small part of what our output is, then great. Do you know what I mean? That's the way how it should be. That's 100% the way how it should be. So I feel like since day one that's always been the case, and I feel like that will always be the case with us, because that's just how it should be. And the fact that more and more people are waking up to that is great. I feel like the more that you try, if you make a big massive song and dance about it, like we've put a female on this for every single show, it's like you're creating more of an issue than it should just be. Like you're doing it and you're doing it consistently. Just do it. If you've got the opportunity to do it, just do it, and then like good things will come back as well. And we've had real positive feedback, and we've been able to sort of aid and help and develop some amazing talent both across the board of male and female across the years, and that's just been because we've always had that mindset. And that's something that's really important to us. And to me
that's
as well.
strong. It's strong. So you had a lockdown baby in all this time. You had a lockdown baby. When you found out you were a dad, did you think that your first year of fatherhood would be spent in the way you spent it?
No, definitely not. No, I was kind of, obviously you try and plan so far ahead, and in a way it's kind of like, obviously not coronavirus isn't a good thing, or the people that have died isn't a good thing, but to have something that every now and again when you feel like you're in control of everything, to just have that bit of a slap down, like no, actually you're not in control, and you do need to live in the day, and you should take things as they come, and you do have to try and apply things regardless of what changes outside of what's in your little bubble. To have Sienna come into our lives during that period where it was real uncertainty across the world was a real blessing again. And that's just something which you spoke about how to remain positive during times of that, and that was probably one of the most positive experiences I've ever had in my life. Obviously there was a lot of bad things happening outside of that, but feeling like we were like safe and we were in this house, and there's so many people outside of my world, or outside just in general, that don't have the same benefits. They don't have anywhere to sort of that safe to go back to, or a roof to call their own, or their own family, all these different things. So it just kind of really just made me just feel like having her to focus on, I would never have had that time at all if things were the way how they were pre-COVID. Do you know what I mean? So just being able to watch her grow, watch her develop, to sort of see her every day, to sort of have that hands-on time, to kind of share Gemma's maternity with her to a certain aspect on the days when I wasn't working. It's been great for me. Like, honestly, it's been really
in a weird backhanded way. It has given anyone, any creative that works in the hospitality events industry, a little bit of you time, and it's given you the time to bond and create a really special relationship with your daughter that she probably wouldn't actually have been able to have with you had you been running around and putting nights on and working till 4, 5, 6 in the morning.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I know that. And, you know, I feel like I said, I'm really, really thankful for the time that I've had with her, because I just don't see how I would have ever had that amount, because especially the way how things were going, and, you know, the amount of events that I was looking at doing for the start of 2020, and just the way you know, the calendar was shaping up, it would have meant that, you know, it would have been half the time spent, if that. Do you know what I mean? And then obviously you've got to think about the times for recovery as well. So the times where, you know, obviously, like, you know, I'm working till 4 or 5 in the morning, am I then going to miss, you know, the majority of the start of the next day, and you know, all of that stuff. Just the fact that I've been able to, like, share the feeds in the night and share all the stuff and change all the nappies and do all that stuff that you just don't have to all. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm an absolute I can do it. Yeah, blindfolded, 30 seconds flat, like, easy. Light works easy for me. I really don't mind it. Like, honestly, like the first few weeks is like ropey, because obviously it's just like just getting covered in, you know what I mean? It's the amount of times where it was just like, I was just like, I had to learn the hard way or whatever. But I don't, honestly, it didn't matter. It's not like we had anywhere to go. Do you know what I mean? Due to COVID, we were all on lockdown. Didn't make a difference. Grew a beard, let my fro grow out. Just cutting about my house in my vest and my shorts, just with my daughter, just like changing nappies and getting it wrong constantly. So that's a good way of learning, isn't it?
So you mentioned you let the fro grow out. So was the first thing that you did when you came out of lockdown, did you get your hair cut?
Yeah, I did actually. Yeah,
And did you spill your guts to your barber, or did you keep it?
I did. No, I spilled it. Like, me and my barber, like, we got on a different level. Like, we have like the deepest chats, honestly, talk about all sorts, the universe, the this, the that. You know, he's got kids of his own, and like, we would talk about all sorts of stuff. He's a good guy. I used to play football with him as well, so yeah, he's a good person. So it was good just to sort of see him and to have that one-on-one time as well with him after not seeing him for months. It was good.
How does it feel for you now? Like, you leave your house, you go to work, or you're still working from home, but you can leave the house, and you're putting together a program for people for the summer. How does that feel now?
Amazing. Feels honestly so good, because, you know, there's times where it's like I personally never doubted, because I'm generally just quite I'm a realist to a certain aspect, but then I'm quite positive as well. Do you know what I mean? So I'll try and be measured in this information that we're getting, and I always felt like there was hope there that we would return. You know, you can go online and you can read, you know, the negatives of, you know, when people were putting up festivals or things a little bit prematurely, they were getting slated. People like, you know, this is never going to happen. This is going to happen in, you know, 2 years time, 3 years time, blah, blah. And I was always just like, you know, let's just take it as it is, and, you know, look at the figures, and then there will be a time where this kind of gets to a point where we can then start to plan ahead. Generally, when I work and I'm building a calendar, we work like 6 months ahead minimum anyway. So then when we did get the opportunity to start putting stuff in that actually had a bit of light at the end of the tunnel for June this year, I was like, obviously really, really happy. The opportunity to actually try and think about it as, you know, this is going to be people's first experience of a nightclub. In some cases, we've really, really taken that part and ran away with it. So we've done everything that we've ever wanted to do to the club, more or less. We were lucky enough to get the CRF grant to then make structural improvements that we would never ever have had the time or the opportunity to shut down our main dance floor for like 2 or 3 weeks to have work done like how we have done now. So when Hidden reopens, it's going to be the best it's ever been. It's going to be, you know, everything's been redone, it's all been serviced, it's all been everything's had a fresh lick of paint. You know, the toilets don't even smell.
I am
it's
so
like,
excited.
It's like
do we still have to
it's
wear
like
wear black trainers? Do we still have
you
to
can
wear
wear, yeah, you probably do.
Trainers?
You probably do have to wear black trainers, but like if you know, that's obviously we can't perform like miracles or anything. We only have to deal with what's in our own hands. But in terms of what's in our own hands, like we've done everything possible to make it the best possible customer experience for when people return. So I can't wait to see people hugging, see people smiling, just hear the dance floor properly, just like, you know, when tunes kick in that people know to just watch that happen. You know what I mean? Honestly, I cannot wait. Yeah. So we just like, you know, when the rumours come out, it was like going to be like Monday the 21st of June. Everyone was like planning for like that weekend and stuff, and I was just like, no, we're going to open on that Monday, so we do, you know, the full thing as soon as it comes out on the Monday. And you know, everyone's kind of been so well, you know, it was so well received, and everyone was so receptive towards that, and it sold out within like 24 hours. And yeah, we were just like really, really thankful. And the last thing we want to do is let anyone down who's committed to joining us in that period. So yeah, like I said, super happy, and I'm just excited. I can't wait. I can hear it.
I can hear it, and so I can't stop smiling. Now, I'm interested to know if you've been keeping an eye on what's been happening with Liverpool, with this big Liverpool party that Youssef is putting on, and how people are coming into it with negative COVID test certificate, no masks, everyone just as they would party. What are your hopes for this development?
So in terms of like, if they want something that will work across the board, they need to do something which doesn't then put more stress on the venue. Like I said, we were lucky enough to have a degree of funding that came back through from the grant, which we, you know, applied for and applied that into our business, and we've been able to sort of self-sustain to a certain point. But I know a lot of other people haven't been as lucky. There are venues all across the country that don't have and will never be able to have, just by the nature of where they are and what they are. They'll never be able to do their own testing on site. They'll never be able to have and house people. They're never going to be able to hold that many people and to facilitate and do the logistics to do it safely and do it properly. Is nigh on impossible for anyone below festival level. So, you know, that'd be the same for us pretty much at Hidden as well, I'm pretty sure. So the idea that people, because I saw a couple of weeks ago now that everyone has access to 2 free rapid tests per week. If it was a case that you had to take your rapid test on a Friday or a Saturday or whenever it was before you went out and present that back to us with the door, we would, you know, we can deal with that really, really easy. If it's just an app that shines red or shines green or whatever, and it's like, that's given, because Hidden's like no ID, no entry anyway, because of obviously like security reasons and where we are and stuff like that. It's always been the case. It's just a case of, you know, most people bring the phones, they have your ticket, you have your ID, you have your app, whatever it is, that's fine by me. I don't mind that. But obviously if it's, you know, I don't think it's going to be a case where people have to have the vaccine. As far as I'm aware, it's more likely that it's going to be a mixture of both. So if you have the vaccine, it's a clear pass, but otherwise you can be tested, and then in that case you can come into the venue, and that's something which we can definitely work with, and we don't see it harming the customer experience in terms of entering the venue. It's not going to delay anything or anything like that. So yeah, I
mean, it's all looking really hopeful for events and clubs anyway, in one way, shape or form. This is coming back.
It is
really, really coming back. Now I want to know, like, if there were 2 records, I might ask you 3. If there were 3 records that would represent you, past, present, and future. Past, as in, this is how you came to being. When you think of being 12 years old or your 13-year-old party, that's the record that says that. When you think of how you were when you took over Hidden, that's the record. And when you think of an artist that fully represents where Hidden is going post-lockdown, that's the record. So hit me with 3.
So in terms of, I know you asked about this and you asked about but I've changed my mind so many times.
That's all right.
I'm going to need to really have a think about how's best for this. The first CD I bought, I mean, for me, was a special one. I'll always remember the track, and it was Olive's "You're Not Alone." Do you remember
Yes,
that track
I do.
from like the 90s?
Totally.
Yeah, so that's always something which I always think of. So when I was a kid, like obviously I used to get fed so much in terms of my dad's music, and I had a room full of promos, I had all the tapes, I had loads of records, I had all these different things and stuff. But that was my first little CD which I bought myself, and I got it from HMV when we lived. No, it wasn't HMV. It was Pioneer. It was. You remember Pioneer? When Pioneer used to exist, like the old like Quick Save style shop, and that was when we lived in Courtenay. I always remember buying that CD. I bought that, and then the second one I bought was the Prodigy's "Is It the Fat of the Land?" It's the one that had a crab on the front of the things. Yeah. So yeah,
groundbreaking LP, groundbreaking single, both of them.
Yeah, there you go. So that was me. That was me as a kid. I just wanted to, that was like what I was into, as well as the rest of the stuff that I was getting from my dad. When I in terms of like my day to day, like now, I listen to, obviously there's a lot of house and techno I listen to. There's a lot of everything else, from older sort of garagey stuff to hip hop and everything else. But my main sort of thing that I listen to is that I try and listen to obviously as much as I can across the board, but a lot of hip hop, a lot of like the sort of original and originators, like KRS-One. He's got a track called "Can't Stop, Won't Stop," and that's something which is something which I listen to on a regular. But yeah, it's got a message, it's got a story. Like honestly, all of that stuff, like positive sort of black messages. Obviously, you go through your life and you sort of, I don't know, you can sort of feel a little bit like the world's against you or something, especially when you're growing up and it's like, no one, but you're being demonized and all these different things, and you read things online and you read things in the papers, and I don't know, just sort of having that kind of positivity. It's been a constant for me. It's like I say that it's my present now, but it's been something which has been like a present for me since I was a kid, and that's just something which has followed me now, probably will follow me into my future as well. But then in terms of the future, I would say that there's some amazing producers, amazing people coming through right now. But what I'm absolutely loving and what I'm absolutely banging into at the minute is this resurgence of new garage, which is happening at the moment. So there's an artist called Interplanetary Clip Criminal, and he's like Manchester based. He works at Oi Polloi at the minute. We've had him on Hidden Radio a few times, and literally you can pick anything from anything that he's releasing at the moment, and it's like A1, like amazing, like really, really, really good. Like bringing back like the best parts of what was great. What I thought was great in garage, sort of 15 plus years ago, and bringing it into sort of what's happening right now. And yeah, that's something which has been a real sort of exciting thing for me when digging for tunes recently.
That's absolutely brilliant. So how do you chill out with all this music and events planning and fatherhood and home life and DJing and music? How do you chill out?
I think in terms of chilling out, I am quite chilled. Like, when I get back, I am quite chilled. Like, I don't really drink or anything. I don't have the opportunity to like sort of go fully in. I did my party. I felt like my partying days when I used to go fully in every single weekend. And, we had that night at Pink Club that was like 5 years of going out every single Thursday, and it was like, years working at, months at a time working abroad and all of that stuff. And I still enjoy myself now, but I just feel like I've got a good amount of separation now between stuff, so that I can kind of always give myself, like I said, I spoke before about energy and things that add into me now I'm very aware of. So I kind of surround myself with things that kind of add into that before I then step out of my door. So anything from like, listening to music at home, or, even just going for like, I don't know, walks with Gemma and Sienna, or spending time here. And this is like kind of like our little like safe thing before I like go out into the big wide world, you know what I mean? So it's the same with when I see any family, any friends, anything. So yeah, it's pretty easy for me to chill out. That's pretty much all I do when I'm not at the office or I'm not at the club or anything else. So yeah, I used to meditate and stuff like that. I don't do anything like that anymore, just because I don't have time. Obviously, having Sienna, who's now 1, so I don't have like 2 minutes to myself. But me not having exactly. But me not having any time to myself is now something which I'm now used to. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like it's something which I've kind of got my head around, and I feel good. Like, this is me relaxing now. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm at home. This is me relaxed. So final question. 12 years time. Yeah. Sienna's 13th birthday party. Yeah.
Is she handing flyers out, sending out electronic flyers, and organising her own birthday party? Is she, or is
I hope not. I don't know. I just really don't think. But yeah, I have no idea. You know, to be honest, my dad was so casual with that. Like, we would definitely lose our license if that ever came to light. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what he was thinking with that type of behaviour. Obviously, it was a different world back then and stuff like that. But Manchester City Council don't mess around. Like, they would be on me. Like, as soon as they see, seen the flyers going out, I'm pretty sure we'd just get like straight up like. You know what I mean? They'd be there on the door. It wouldn't. Okay,
will she do it at home then? Because probably
by
the time she's 12, I reckon we'll be able to have lots of people something around our houses now.
Yeah, so you know what? I think that's the better compromise right there. Yeah, so she'll be having that at home. Yeah, I wanted to have that sort of same feeling, and obviously get her friends round, have parties. I used to have the best parties with kids coming over from when I was at primary school, and my mum used to always do the house up for like Halloween, my birthday, any occasion, and stuff like that. So I want to have that with my daughter as well. Yeah, definitely, for sure.
And you wouldn't tell her not to be a DJ. Would you encourage it, or would you say, "Oh, don't"?
Yeah, no. I feel like if you're gonna really be hard on a child and be like, don't do this, or make sure you do that, obviously in terms of danger, then that's a positive way of sort of seeing it. But when it comes down to just like making life choices, I want her just to be feeling confident and happy enough in herself so she can make her own choices. And if she chooses that, obviously that's what she wants to do, and I'll support her with that. That's fine. Yeah.
Oh,
she can have my records if she wants. Like, yeah.
Oh, you're lovely. Well, what can I say? Anton Stevens, director of Hidden and Events. Anton Fitz, techno DJ. God, you've got so many other things. You've got a degree in music technology, but you're just an all-around super good egg, human being of human beings. And I have to say, before we go, of all the people I've met in Manchester, like, you've been one person who has given me the time and helped me. Like, we sat and we talked, and you gave me some very, very good advice about how to take my career on. And I thank you for that in public and to your face, because you took the time and you spent the time with me, and it's actually been really quite effective. Good advice as well. So really very good mentor. That's what I'll say at the end. Brilliant mentor. Thank you for joining me.
No, thank you. Thank you for asking me. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.